After the events of the first game, psychosis-suffering Senua has gotten herself captured and transported to Iceland in search of her friends who have been taken into slavery. She's after vengeance against those responsible, once again facing her inner demons in the process. The sequel to Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, is a disappointing follow-up to what was a unique, dramatic, technical achievement with something worthwhile to say. The original game was a nuanced, novel game thanks to its examination and thoughtful conveyance of someone suffering from psychosis. The sequel manages to up the ante in terms of the technical achievement aspect, offering outstanding visuals and audio design, but it falls short in every other way. The game is gorgeous and it's one of the first modern games to utilise and showcase Unreal Engine 5. The detail in landscapes, facial animation and lighting is outstanding. There are moments of this game that are near photorealistic, especially those seen in in-engine cutscenes. The gameplay and the cinematics almost seamlessly blend, forming a solid style and flow throughout the 6 or 7 hour experience. There were many instances where it was unclear whether I was supposed to play or watch what was on screen. Sometimes what appeared to be a cutscene also allowed interaction. For example, one battle sequence was broken up with a brief encounter with an NPC. Having played this moment twice, I learnt that by pushing the action button at a precise time, I could alter that moment. It was brief and ultimately unnecessary, but a great showcase of gameplay and cutscene merging. On Xbox Series consoles, the frame rate is locked at 30 frames with a resolution that dynamically changes depending on the needs of the moment in play. It all looks great until you play the game on a high-end PC for comparison. With frame generation, DLSS and a powerful graphics card, the game can be pushed close to 60 frames, which may seem low but it only demonstrates the high demands of the game and its visuals. For this type of game, which is a slow moving experience, the frame rate was never an issue, although in high demand sequences involving numerous moving aspects and when sprinting through environments, slight stutters could be observed as the game struggled to render the new locations quick enough. It wasn't distracting or game breaking, but it was noticeable, especially towards the back end of the game. On the sound front, the game is a little more mixed in quality. The developers recommend playing Senua's Saga with headphones capable of 3D audio. If you do so, you're in for a treat because the game, the world and the immersion are amazing. Voices bounce around your head, pestering, tormenting and leading you through the experience. Music booms and builds to crescendos, sound effects are sharp and clear, it's very cinematic. These voices, a novelty in the prior game, are now more annoying and less insightful than before. They sometimes nag at Senua, mock her choices and present questions of doubt, but more than that, they act as guidance and assistance throughout the game. The voices are more akin to a spoken hint system than a conveyance of psychosis this time around, and they never stop talking either. It becomes very frustrating when in a cutscene in which two central characters are explaining what's going on, 2 or 3 other voices constantly butt in and make comprehension challenging. It's perhaps an accurate representation of such a condition and the way it impacts everyday life, but it doesn't make for good storytelling. As a hint system, they also give away far too much. Whenever you're in a puzzle situation, they immediately let you know and almost always point you in the right direction and tell you exactly what to do. It's hardly a puzzle when you have the answer presented before you get a chance to solve it yourself. The non-headphone experience is very disappointing. The game presents 3 options for audio: headphones, speakers and mono. When playing via speakers, the game's audio design is flat and lifeless with very little in the way of surround sound or 3D audio. Playing this through a surround sound system capable of Dolby Atmos on both Xbox consoles and on PC, the immersion was lacking. Almost every sound except environmental atmospherics was presented from the front speakers. Switching to a surround mode on the speakers did improve the experience, but it deactivated the front speakers entirely, rendering Senua's vocals inaudible. It's almost as though the developers put so much attention into headphone use, they simply forgot to master and tweak the other methods of audio. Voice acting and performances are fantastic though. Melina Juergens is phenomenal in the lead role, again portraying Senua both vocally and physically. Her expressions, her determination and ferocity come through very well. The supporting characters, while significantly less interesting than Senua, are given equal care and attention. Each of them has a distinct look, with near photorealistic depictions. There's a slaver, a captured man, and a warrior woman who joins Senua on her adventure, not all by choice. They're given unique personalities, but the game doesn't put enough time or focus into them to make them all that engaging. This is Senua's story, not theirs, but it means that everyone Senua meets is a little boring and one note. Sadly, the story presented in Senua's Saga is also lacking. Without knowing the backstory of Senua and the events of the prior game, her primary goal and initial purpose is a little unclear. Once it becomes clear, for much of the game, the thrust of the narrative is a traditional revenge tale. It's far less personal than before. It offers little new to say about Senua, her world, or her condition, and it doesn't have many twists, turns, or surprises on offer either. What's unfortunate is that Senua herself is treated much more heroically than in the prior game. The psychosis she suffers from, which was brilliantly explored in the prior game as a disability, is now more akin to an annoying but occasionally useful superpower. It's a shame that the nuance in storytelling and the greater messaging has been reduced in such a way. I can only imagine that those suffering from such conditions may find insult in the depiction of psychosis this time around. One of the ways in which Senua's psychosis presents itself is via visions and illusions. The environment shifts and changes, the enemies take on monstrous forms, and threatening voices call out to her. It's all very atmospheric and suitably moody, but in this game it appears that other characters are also experiencing such sights and sounds, at least in certain moments. Giants, as seen in the trailers and reveals for the game, play a big part in the narrative. What was initially assumed to be another instance of psychosis messing with Senua's depiction of reality is in fact real. Other characters acknowledge the presence and existence of giants and mythical, fantastical beings and creatures, putting into question everything you see and experience. If this is a world in which such creatures exist, why is Senua so special? It almost goes against everything established in the prior game. Most disappointingly is the pace and length of the game. At 6 or so hours, the game is not a long one. That's not to say that it's too short, in fact, it's too long. The game is slow and plodding, with few moments of excitement. It takes a long time just to climb a hill in the opening moments, and then you spend a large majority of the game traversing through rocky terrain and empty fields. While the game is gorgeous and highly realistic, the environments on display are not that spectacular. The game and its locations are the same at the beginning of the game as they are at the end, with little variety outside of some fantastical vision sequences. Additionally, the environment is so realistic that you can't always figure out what can and cannot be walked on. The game is very linear, with each location having narrow paths you can push Senua through. She can only maneuver through clear, flat ground. If you see an area littered with small rocks and ankle-high pebbles, Senua cannot walk over it. For a game that has so vigorously conveyed its world, it's a shame that so much of it is off limits. Not helping matters is the gameplay itself. The only thing you do in this game are walk, solve rudimentary puzzles, and fight one-on-one with enemies. Walking and traversal make up the bulk of what you do, as already stated. The puzzles are like the first game, requiring you to line up objects in the environment, to use bubbles to reflect and twist the landscape, and some more secretive ones involving finding hidden faces. The puzzles lack challenge, the goal is always clear, and the only obstacle is trying to find the right way to go. When you find the solution, the game almost immediately solves it for you, rendering your input near pointless. Combat is perhaps the most fun and active part of the gameplay experience. Every combat encounter has you going toe-to-toe with a single competitor. Even when there are several competitors around you, you battle them one at a time. It's very cinematic with great choreography and some visceral takedowns. You can strike, power strike, dodge, block, and if you're lucky, you might also be able to parry. Later in the game, an ability to unleash your fury is also introduced, aiding in some tougher encounters. Combat is all about timing, and on the default difficulty, it's never all that challenging. The combat encounters are well placed and present just the right level of challenge to break up the mundane traversal and add some sort of excitement. After spending so much time walking, combat is a much needed respite and adds something interesting to do. The biggest problem is that Senua's Saga rarely feels like a video game. In so many ways, it's more akin to an interactive narrative experience. You either push forward to move, push the select button to interact, or you're in combat with very basic limited inputs. The interactivity is so bare bones it begs the question as to why it's there in the first place. So much of what is interactive is slow and often drags out the narrative and scenes in play. It's also very unclear at times what you must do, what can and cannot be interacted with. The game offers no tutorials or explanations on controls in-game for the sake of cinematic immersion. Even some of the side objectives like puzzles lacked any sort of adequate tutorialization. This is a game that expects you to know what to do and to figure it out. On one level I appreciate that, but on another it may have taken it a little too far. Cutting down the gameplay elements even more and emphasizing narrative over exploration may have made for a tighter, more engaging experience, at least on a dramatic story level. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 offers up some impressive visual splendor and great performances from its cast, but as a video game it often falls short. Its story is devoid of intrigue, excitement, momentum, or compelling motivation for its lead character. Its combat, puzzles, traversal, and exploration are all bare bones and lacking in depth, raising questions as to why they were there to begin with. Its messaging and exploration of mental health is also disappointing and questionable thanks to its veering into superhero territory over realistic, debilitating mental health concerns. In many ways, Senua's Saga is an intriguing concept on the narrative level that's then poorly delved into thanks to the necessities of the video game medium.